Today, I want to talk about the cause and effect theory. And I want to give credit to my pen pal EGR because he's really the one that outlined this theory to me in a series of voice memos some weeks ago. And I thought it was terrific and very much aligned to what I'm saying. But he articulated it really well. And the theory is something like this, is that biomechanics are the cause, and then almost everything else related to health and even a lot of your decisions in life are effects. Your biomechanics cause are the root cause, and then all these other things are the effects. So let's now dive into the argument. Let's give some examples. So for example, it could be that you have dementia or autism, right? That is an effect. The cause was biomechanics. So for some reason, your biomechanics, did damage to your body such that you ended up with autism or dementia, right? It is unlikely to be pure bad luck or genetics. Another one is obesity, right? Obesity is an effect. The root cause is biomechanics. People think that obesity is because you didn't exercise enough, you ate too much. That's more like a middle layer thing. And, the only reason why eating too much made you obese was because your biomechanics were bad. And if your biomechanics were good, you'd be able to eat pretty much whatever you wanted in whatever quantity, and you would look fine, right? And there's millions of people that are examples of exactly that. Another one would be like concentrate, right? Maybe you concentrate bad. You have mild ADHD. This is an effect. The cause is these biomechanics. Something's probably happening in your skull, compressing the brain and causing these issues. Even the things that you eat, for example, you may not like, or you're sensitive, you have, diet limitations. That again is an effect. The cause is biomechanics. And therefore, if you fix the biomechanics, then all those things I just mentioned can go away because it's the root cause. What we're generally saying as a thesis is that perhaps biomechanics is the cause of all of this. The cause of basically all your health issues. And where do we, this is a very bold claim. Where do we get the justification? One example that he gave, which I think is a good one, is this disease pica, where people are eating sandpaper and chewing gum, paint chips, and all kinds of non-food things because they have an iron deficiency. And so their body is just telling them that they need to eat this stuff because it's missing something. But there's a very direct relationship. Like your logic would never tell you eat paint chips, but your body, their body is just telling them it needs it, right? So what you're seeing is a very direct relationship between the body and your actions. And I think that the body is actually controlling a lot more, right? So the body is probably sending us signals about what we're missing all the time. I'll give you an example of myself, because when I was in my early 30s, I had some dietary sensitivities and I would try to eat very healthy. And I felt much better when that was happening. So that's who I became. I became the person that was eating very healthy and going to the gym a lot. And I felt like my body reacted very well to that. And now I see that was just the biomechanics, right? Like I was collapsing. I was having a lot of neck and back issues at the time. I've now solved for the biomechanics, right? And I'm still improving, but I, come a long way. And I feel like, regardless of what I eat, I feel healthy and I feel energized and I feel, even better than I did back then. How do you test this theory, right? Like, how do you prove or disprove it, right? It's not easy. In order to disprove, right, this thesis, I think you need to have been doing these biomechanics for a while. I'd say at least 6 to 12 months, right? So if you're improving steadily doing this process with the mouth guard and some of the additional stretches that I talk about, and you're still feeling like you're not, improving. So for example, if you were very shy and uncomfortable around other people, right? And if you're doing this process for an extended period of time and you don't feel like that's improving at all, then maybe there's another root cause. Or another one would be you have certain diet sensitivities and you're doing this process for a couple of years and you still have the same diet sensitivities. Or if your hair is thinning, right? Hair is thinning, for me, that's also an effect. So if you're doing this process for a couple of years and your hair is not getting thicker, maybe biomechanics is not a root cause. So there's a lot of ways to disprove it, right? And I think the more people that start this process, and as the years go on, we're going to see, did biomechanics solve all that stuff or not? Maybe I'm wrong. But right now, from what I'm seeing, I have a feeling biomechanics is going to be at the root of a ton of stuff. Just because biomechanics is the root cause, right? Some people say, oh, we're all going to end up being the same. But no, I don't think that's, like we might all get to the state where all very beautiful, well-functioning, healthy people, but we will still have our own kind of characteristics, even if we achieve some level of perfection, right, man? And it's kind of like one metaphor I like to think about is like when you hang out with a bunch of models, right? Like from afar, they look like they're all the same, right? They're all like beautiful people and they probably had like a similarities in their life. But the minute you get to know them, you see their personalities, you do see that there's a lot of differences between all of them. When I say that biomechanics is the root cause, I'm not saying that we're all going to end up looking and acting exactly the same. I don't think that's going to happen. One metaphor I like to use is that I think of like once we use these biomechanics and we get to near the end, whatever's the differences between us, it's almost like the screensaver on your computer, right? Like everyone's gonna have a different screensaver. Like we're gonna look and feel a little bit different. We're gonna have our own, colors or whatnot, designs, edges, color, personality. But the internal wiring, like the logic inside the computer and how it functions, is all gonna more or less be the same for all of us, right? And I think that is a good way of thinking about it. Is that like once you take this process to the end, like our body is going to be sending similar signals to everyone. Like we're going to be able to eat anything. We might still prefer certain foods, but like we can eat anything. We can feel fine. We can function very healthily without having to account for all these things that today are just effects. And the reason for that is because that internal logic is these biomechanics, which can be fixed.